Hi everyone, it's Paula here for this week's Pocket Parenting. These episodes are here to give you fresh perspectives on parenting so that you can feel more empowered, confident, loving, and influential as a parent, and literally have a transformative mindset tools in your pocket that will help you create exceptional relationships with your children. Here's the truth. You have two options as a parent. So simple. Your ways of being can be one of two ways. You can either help things go right, or you can be focused and dealing with things that are going wrong. Do you hear the difference with that? Okay, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because so many parents making the mistake of not doing anything about getting repeatedly triggered by their kids. It literally is the worst mistake that can be done with children, meaning not doing anything about it. Now, if you are like most parents, you know that being triggered by your kids leads to yelling, nauseating power struggles over chores, disconnection from your child. That all leads to loneliness, isolation, silent heartbreak on both sides, right? Unfortunately, the big problem here is that many parents think that it's the child's fault. And that is what I'm talking about, where most people focus on this dealing with things that are wrong, dealing with trying to fix the child, change the child, blaming the child, trying to correct their behaviors, and doing all these things. But the problem is that this approach really makes things worse because kids continue to fight for power and control while you, as the parent, end up feeling guilty for not being able to stop being triggered and frustrated because nothing is changing. The situation just goes on and on like that for years. I've seen it because I've been doing this for over 20 years. So, my offer for you today is to do something about being triggered. Like, literally, my invitation is for you to do these two things that I am sharing with you today. If you just do these two things, you will notice a tremendous shift in your family where more peace, calm, and connection and cooperation becomes available when you stop being triggered. And I hear you that it is not easy and it is possible. You just need to know what to do. And this is what this episode is about, just giving you those two things that you can start doing today and changing today so that you don't keep making the mistakes of continuing this life where there's a lot of being triggered happening. Let me begin by what does it mean to be triggered? Like, how does it look like? It's kind of like many people talk about being triggered, but like, what does it actually mean? So being triggered means that something has hit a nerve. It has activated your stress response system. Now, the stress response system has different kinds of options. So when our stress response system is activated, we can do the fight, right? So fighting, the fight response means could be a yelling at the kid, getting angry, getting aggressive, anything like that. That would be the fight response as a child, towards the child. Okay. Now, we also know that in the stress response, we have freeze. So the way this looks like when a parent gets triggered is stuck, feeling like stuck, feeling helpless, not knowing what to do. Look, all this chaos is just happening around you, and you might be just kind of standing still, looking all the balls dropping, chaos and fires happening, and you feel like you can't even move because you are in that freeze response. And the freeze response, your body is telling you, if I move, I'm going to die. That's what freeze response is. That's when the rabbit plays dead on the ground after being chased by the fox, and the rabbit knows, if I'm going to flinch an eyeball, the fox is going to kill the rabbit. So this is in your nervous system. When you're triggered, this is what's happening. It doesn't consciously make any sense, but these systems of the brain come from the limbic system, the primitive, the reptilian brain that is just knows how to react. That's all. It does not make any sense. Anyways, I'm just shedding light to how does this look like when we apply this stress response into parenting and you being triggered. So being triggered is not just the yelling and the controlling and the punishing and all these kinds of things. That's external, very easy to see. It's also that helplessness and that powerlessness. And then the third stress response is flight. I'm just gonna get the heck out of here. So again, in our rabbit example, the rabbit would probably initially try to run for its life. Okay, and I talk to so many parents, that is exactly their experience. They just want to escape the situation. They don't want to deal with it. They just like dream about getting away. That's a fight response coming from this primitive part of your brain that is at play when you feel like that. So I want to share all that so that you can really start to understand that being triggered means that your nervous system is being activated. Your nervous system is activated, and you are now in stress response, in this survival mode. Your heart is pumping faster. Your muscles are tensing. You might feel a rush of heat or energy or sweating, even getting red in the face. All those things that really prepare for the body to survive. That's what's happening. And you can probably feel this in your body and you're experiencing this. It's pretty exhausting, right? This is why I am committed to support parents in eradicating being triggered for good, because it's possible, and I have worked with many parents who've been successfully able to do that. So the first step is understanding that this is what's happening, and for you to understand when you are in stress response or when your child is in stress response, it wipes out any rational thinking. So you have a side of that rational, loving, kind, most patient parent. That's who you actually are, compassionate. That parent can turn into this screaming yet red in the face parent when the stress response is being triggered. So it clouds judgment. uh, there's no access to really the part of the brain that will be able to come up with solutions to the problem, or to be able to, like I said in the beginning of this episode, to do something to help things go right. And this is why it's getting triggered is so frustrating for so many parents, because they know this is not helpful. They know this is making things worse, right? So the solution here is to start to desensitize yourself to these triggers by your child. And there's a lot of other pieces to it, but for right now, let's just focus on starting to desensitize yourself to these triggers. So think about, we all have buttons. Every single human being on this planet has these trigger buttons. They've been installed there 0 to 8, whatever happened in your life, whatever was going on, whatever traumas and negative experiences or whatnot was happening, your developmental needs were not met. This is when these buttons were installed. Oftentimes, it wasn't by choice. Somebody else put these buttons on you because that is when your brain was developing and you were just kind of absorbing whatever was happening around you, not your fault. However, later on now in life, we are walking around these buttons. The children, the pets, the drivers on the street, whatever it is, keep pressing our buttons, right? Now, it is our responsibility to figure out whether we are going to keep responding or not, whether we keep that button connected or not. Okay, so my vision for you is like, okay, yeah, you're gonna have your buttons. And my vision for you is, let's say you have 3 children. All the kids are pressing your buttons all at the same time. Nothing happens. You don't get triggered because those buttons are disconnected. Okay. Now, I don't mean it in the way that I sometimes do when the fire alarm goes off. I just learned from my friend that you're not supposed to put parchment paper into the oven because it catches fire and triggers my fire alarm. So I was literally doing this a lot. And I'm like, why is my fire alarm literally going off every time I cook something in the oven? My friend visited me last weekend and she asked for lining to go to the baking sheet. And I gave her this parchment paper and she's like, nope, this doesn't go in the oven. So anyhow, I was triggering the fire alarm. So my solution is not what I do, which is I take off the battery. So now my fire alarm is not actually working. I did fix that, so don't worry. So that is not what I'm recommending for you. What I am recommending is to press the reset button. Like in that fire alarm, there's also that reset button, reset it, and realizing that a lot of these situations where you get triggered by your child, it is a false alarm. Like my parchment paper in the oven is smoking, but it's not actually a huge fire. But my fire alarm is really loud. So a lot of these buttons are also false alarms. Okay, that's your foundation. So what to do? Here are the 2 things that I promised to give you today to start shifting things for you, to stop being triggered by your kids. Number 1 is you are responsible for those buttons. Those are your buttons. They are yours. So stop blaming your child. Stop trying to fix them. You're gonna exhaust yourself in the process. So understanding that your emotions, nobody causes your emotions. Nobody's responsible for your emotions. Nobody is at fault for your emotions. Your emotions are your own inner responses and reactions to your situation. Typically, emotions are related to what we are thinking about the situation. It's related to our limiting beliefs and core beliefs. It's related to our past, but that's our stuff. It belongs to us. So really the first step is to be responsible for being triggered. Be responsible for your own emotions. This is where a lot of parents make the mistake, because as long as you keep seeing that the problem is outside of yourself, not your fault, things would be so much better if my child, if they would just do the chores, if they would just put their sweaty clothes away if it's a teenager, if they would just put their toys away if they are a toddler, if they would just brush their teeth. Like, I mean, how hard can that be, right? I hear you. I hear this stuff all the time. Would be so easy. Yes, I agree. And your child has as much right to their viewpoint as you do. Your child has as much right to have their viewpoints, their wishes, their desires, things they want to do and don't want to do as you do. So realize this, we can let go of being right about things. So you can keep on being right about, like, how easy would it be if they would just share that I'm right about this would make it so easy. You can keep suffering and be right, or you can let go of being right and create calm and peace in your home. Those are the choices, right? Because every time we are right about something, that makes somebody wrong. Usually it's a child makes them wrong. How do we feel when we are wrong? Defensive. I want to fight back, or I want to run away. I want to disconnect. I want to resist. All those things when I am made to feel that I'm wrong. Okay, so being right creates resistance. Okay, so step number one, be responsible. Own your feelings, own your triggers, fully and completely. 100% responsibility. Okay. Number two is understanding that you can do something about these things. Now, like I said, most of these triggers, they are an issue because once upon a time there was an issue around this stuff. So this has to do with your trauma. This has to do with something bad, overwhelming, stressful, unmet needs, whatever it is that was happening in your childhood. In your childhood. So you're not going to be able to stop being triggered until you have healed and processed that trauma. So I'm a trauma expert. I'm a trauma therapist. I do this all the time. And I see people start having different life experiences when they heal through their traumas. And sometimes those traumas are so deep, they've been there for so long that people don't even realize all the different ways that it impacts their lives. So that healing gets to begin with your traumas and your past. Where were you feeling powerless? Where were you feeling like you didn't have control? Were you feeling lonely or isolated? Whatever it is, where were you made fun of? Where were you? Where when did somebody? When was somebody critical against you? When did somebody hurt you? Did somebody hit you? Did somebody yell at you, say mean words? All those are your traumas, and you are responsible for healing through those. That trauma is not going to go away until you have processed it. This is what it means to heal through trauma, is processing and integrating the trauma into who you are today, bringing all your resources, your strength and resiliency into it. So it begins with this honest, open looking at an understanding of your past and linking that to, like, when you're being triggered in the present moment with your child, linking that into, okay, when did I feel this way as a child? What is this related to? And then you realize that you're actually not responding as your adult self, but you are responding as that child who experienced that trauma. Okay. That is all I have for you today. That's a lot to digest. That is a lot to digest. And if you commit to these two things, if you just start by being responsible, first of all, understanding it's a stress response, being responsible, stopping the blame, fixing, changing, controlling, all that, stepping into helping things go right, starting with that, and then get some support, guidance, help, whatever you need to do to heal through your trauma. Okay, I am committed to this. I am committed to supporting parents to figure out how they can finally stop being triggered by their kids, because I hear both sides and it's not pretty on either side of the fence, so to speak. So I'm here to support you. Keep an eye out for a new resource that I am working on right now, which is a ebook. It's an ebook that will help parents so that they can parent without being triggered, parent without making things worse. And in this ebook, I give you a simple 3-step plan to eradicate your parenting triggers. I touched upon these things today, so you get a little taste of what that might be like. But give me some time. I'm super excited working on this ebook. You will know about it. So make sure that you follow me on YouTube. Make sure you follow me on Facebook. And go to my website as well if you haven't gone there yet, transformationalparent.com, and sign up for my newsletter so that you can keep receiving these announcements of all this free stuff that I'm giving out, one of them being this ebook. Okay, good luck with everything and just be committed. Never give up. Your transformation is on the other side of not giving up. Okay, thanks so much. Bye now.